I've been married to Kira for 8 years. If I wanted to count how many times she initiated anything physical, I wouldn't need a calculator. I'd need one hand and probably a couple of spare fingers left over. That's not bitterness, that's inventory. You learn to live around a drought. You keep busy. You fix things, mow the lawn like it's a competitive sport, install shelves that nobody asked for, and become very good at grocery shopping. You make peace with maybe tomorrow, the way you make peace with dental appointments and tax season, never pleasant, always coming. Tuesday night didn't look like a turning point. We watched something forgettable on Netflix, had Thai food, laughed a bit, cleaned up. Standard. When we got to bed, I reached over in the normal, married way. No fireworks, no dramatic speech. Just a hand on her shoulder and a kiss that said, "Hey, remember me?" Your husband Kira stared at the ceiling, voice flat enough to pass inspection at a hardware store. "Use your hand." I'm not in the mood to please you. I didn't get angry, I didn't beg. Something in my brain flipped from cope to observe. I just said, "Fair enough," turned on my side and let the room go dark. My body went to sleep. My mind didn't. It turned her sentence over like a mechanic passing a cracked part from palm to palm. I'm not in the mood to please you. Not, I'm tired, not, I'm hurting, not even another time. She said pleasing me wasn't something she was in the mood for. Like it was a hobby, not a part of our marriage. I thought about what I'm always in the mood for, fixing a cabinet hinge when she points at it with a sigh, listening to a 30-minute download about Brittany's new neighbor and his terrible landscaping, paying for the boutique dress for a dinner we haven't scheduled yet, nodding through content days for her Instagram, holding the ring light while she tries 3 different smiles that all look exactly the same to me. Morning came with sunlight, squirrels on the fence, and Kira doing her coffee scroll routine at the kitchen island like a sun-powered statue. She looked great, of course. Kira always looks like she has backstage access to a better life. I poured my coffee and opened the news on my phone. At 10:03, she turned her stool and gave me the voice. The soft one. The one for trainers, waiters, and husbands. So I was thinking about hitting the mall. That store I like is doing a sale, and I saw a couple of things that would be perfect for Linda's birthday dinner next weekend. The script said I would smile, pull my wallet, and ask if she needed gas money too. I closed my phone and gave her back her line. Use your job. I'm not in the mood to finance you. Silence. Not dramatic, just empty. Kira blinked like her contacts had jumped ship. I'm sorry, what? You heard me. I took a sip. Use your job. I'm not in the mood to finance you today. Color drained from her face like I'd unplugged a lamp. 8 years and nobody had ever said that sentence to Kira in that kitchen. She laid the soft voice aside and tried her brisk, adult tone. Garrett, that's not the same thing. How is it different? I asked. Because that's not how marriage works. We support each other. I nodded. I tried to support something last night. You weren't hiring. Her lips parted, then snapped shut. She stood, paced to the sink, back to the stool, to the fridge, classic Kira in a maze with invisible walls. Finally, she settled on reason. Last night I was tired. You know how stressed I've been. And today I'm stressed about our finances, I said. Amazing symmetry, don't you think? Are you punishing me because I wasn't in the mood one night? Kira, it hasn't been one night in a long time. It's been a policy. I'm simply matching policy with policy. When you're in the mood to please me, I'll be in the mood to finance you. When you're not, I won't be either. She stared at me, working through a list of tactics like a phone tree. Anger, guilt, charm, scandalized whisper. Anger picked up first. This is cruel. What would you call last night? A boundary. Great. So is this. She tried a different lever. A real husband wouldn't make his wife beg for money. A real wife wouldn't make her husband beg for intimacy. We stood there, 2 people discovering that the floor had been tilted for years and had just clicked back to level. Kira retreated to her phone. Calls began. Murmurs, little gasps, then slow circuits through the house with a hand pressed to her temple. I didn't eavesdrop, but I didn't need to. After 8 years, you can read a spouse the way you read weather. The clouds were gathering because the forecast had finally changed. By noon, she came back into the kitchen with a new expression, the one that pretends we are two reasonable executives in a glass conference room. "I've been thinking about what you said," she announced. "I think we should go to counseling." "Why?" I asked. "Because clearly we have communication issues." "I communicated very clearly," I said. "When you're in the mood to please me, I'll be in the mood to finance you." "What part is unclear?" "Marriage is more complicated than that." "Then let's make it simple. Equal effort for equal benefits." Her jaw worked. "I'm going to the mall," she said finally, like the declaration itself created money. "Have fun," I said. "They take personal cards." She left with the kind of posture you save for catastrophes and dentists. That evening she tried effort. The house smelled like my favorite pasta. There was a bottle of wine open, glasses waiting, the table set like we had company. "Hey, baby," she said, hugging me longer than our usual 5-second courtesy. "Dinner's ready." It was good. She laughed generously at my mid-level jokes and asked about my day in a voice that remembered me from our dating phase. For a minute, I felt an old door creak. We were at the sink when the real agenda peeked out. "Oh, by the way," Kira said, rinsing a plate like it had a secret, "there's a girls' trip next month." "Just a weekend. We should book the hotel early to get a good rate." I dried my hands and turned to her. "How much?" She shrugged in that casual, not casual way. "Maybe 400 for the hotel and food. Plus, are you in the mood to please me tonight?" I asked. The plate paused mid-air. "I don't like how you're putting this." "I'm putting it the way you put it Tuesday," I said. "That's manipulative." "No, that's reciprocal." She set the plate down a little too hard. "I'm not having this conversation." "I know," I said. "That's why we're still in it." She left the kitchen without the plate, and the pasta smelled less like comfort and more like a closing shift. The next day, Kira escalated to third-party opinions. I came home to find her and my mother, Linda, at the island, cups of coffee placed like evidence. "Hi, honey," Mom said, giving me the look. "We were just talking about how important it is for couples to support each other through difficult times." "Absolutely," I said, hanging up my keys. "Support should go both ways." Kira's eyes told me not to do this. My mother, bless her, asked, "Kira mentioned there were some disagreements about money?" "Not disagreements," I said, "just aligning our priorities. If physical intimacy is optional in our marriage, financial support is optional too." My mother blinked. Kira flushed. "That's not what I said," Kira protested. "How did you say it?" I asked. "Because I distinctly remember you telling me to use my hand." Silence dropped into the room like another chair. My mother looked between us, then folded her hands. "Well," she said carefully, "marriage is give and take." "Right," I said. "For 3 years it's been me giving and her taking." Mom opened her mouth, closed it, and decided that the coffee needed her full attention. Kira waited until she left to detonate. "How could you embarrass me like that in front of your mother?" "I didn't embarrass you," I said, putting the clean plate away because we were apparently short one. "Your words did." She stormed down the hall and called Brittany. I could tell by the footsteps, long, quick, with that sharp turn at the end, that means a sister is about to be summoned as both witness and weapon. That weekend, Brittany came over with printouts and a face like a seminar. She'd highlighted sections about marital phases and women's changing needs, and a graph with no labels, my favorite kind. "Sometimes women are less interested in intimacy," Brittany said, teacher calm. "It doesn't mean husbands should retaliate financially." "You're right," I said. "And sometimes men are less interested in financing. It doesn't mean wives should retaliate emotionally. That's completely different," Brittany said. eyebrows making little quotation marks. How? I asked. Because financial support is a basic responsibility in marriage. So is intimacy, I said evenly. Apparently only one of those is enforceable. Kira rushed in. He's being impossible. I said I wasn't in the mood one night and now… Brittany, I said. Ask her when the last time was that she initiated anything. Not me. Her. Kira's mouth snapped shut. The room waited. That's private, she said. You brought it into the room, I said. If we're going to weigh responsibilities, we should weigh all of them. Brittany's eyes softened. Not for me, not for Kira, but for the fact that percentages had arrived. She put down her printouts like they'd started to burn. By Monday, Kira had moved from sister science to legal thunder. She walked into the kitchen with a new calm and a new bag. Lawyer calm, lawyer bag. I talked to an attorney, she announced. Withholding money from your spouse can be considered financial abuse in divorce proceedings. I'm proud of you for doing research, I said. Did you also ask about constructive abandonment? The calm cracked a little. What's that? When a spouse refuses physical intimacy for an extended period, I said. Attorneys have words for everything, even for Tuesday nights that last 3 years, she swallowed. You're bluffing. Try me. The lawyer bag sat between us like a dog that bites whoever touches it. That night, Eric called. He's my friend who speaks in headlines. Dude, he said, Kira's calling around saying you've turned into Scrooge. And my wife laughed, he said. She said, and I quote, we've all been wondering when he'd stop being an ATM with legs. I stared at the ceiling fan. Since when do people call me an ATM? Since forever, he said cheerfully. Look, man, I love you, but Kira's been running the same play for years. Proud of you for benching the star. Thanks, I said. I think. Also, Eric added, tell me how this goes. The group chat is invested. Wonderful, I said. Exactly the audience I wanted. You got this, he said. Boundaries look weird at first, then they look like furniture. I hung up and looked around at our very nice house. It suddenly felt like it belonged to a person I might actually be. On Wednesday, we had dinner with Kira's parents. Her father, Frank, shook my hand like he was weighing it. Kira's mother had that smile that only mothers and flight attendants can keep in place during turbulence. I hear you two are having disagreements about finances, Frank said over appetizers, making it sound like we were negotiating tariffs. Not disagreements, I said. We're implementing a policy where contribution and benefits are proportional. Kira jumped in. He's punishing me because I wasn't in the mood. Frank's eyes moved to his daughter with a slow pivot. Is that true? It's not that simple, she said, cheeks coloring. Marriage is about both people contributing, Frank finished. If you're not contributing physically, why should he contribute financially? I nearly apologized for how relieved I felt. Kira's mother made a small sound. The rest of dinner ate itself. On the drive home, Kira stared out the window. Streetlights rolled across her face like bars. She didn't speak. I didn't either. Some silence is work. Some is rest. This was surgery. Friday, she threw papers on the kitchen table like a dealer who hates the house. Fine, Kira snapped. If this is how you want to play, I'll file for separation. And when I do, I'll be asking for spousal support. I read the first page, then the last. You do realize spousal support typically requires showing you can't support yourself, right? You work part-time because you choose to. You have a degree, no health issues. A judge is going to ask how many hours are in your week. Her eyes widened just a little. She'd expected a cave-in, not a counter. And also, I added, sliding the papers back, separation means you start paying half the mortgage and utilities now. That starts at about $1,500. Do they offer spousal support for that? For the first time, Kira looked like somebody had cut the wrong wire. She sat down. You're really going to let me destroy our marriage over this? I'm not destroying anything, I said. I just stopped carrying it alone. She slept on the couch that night. Saturday morning, she was at the table with coffee and the separation papers, like she hoped steam might rearrange the letters. "I want to talk," she said. "Okay." She watched the coffee for a long time, then lifted her eyes. "I took you for granted. It wasn't much, but it wasn't nothing. I knew you'd always be there," she said. "Always pay. Always accept. And now?" I asked. She drew a breath. "Now I realize I might lose everything because I thought I didn't have to try." I didn't say anything. She reached for my hand. I let her get close, then stopped her. "What are you proposing?" "I can try harder," she said quickly. "Be more affectionate. Be more available." "Because you want me," I said. "Or because you want the money?" "Both," she whispered, and at least it was honest. "That's the problem," I said. "You've shown me exactly who you are when you think you have all the leverage. I don't believe in promises that only last until the credit card swipe," she cried. "Prove me wrong," I said softly. "Get a full-time job. Pay your half, 6 months, then we'll talk." Her face went still. "You want me to get a real job?" "I want you to be a partner." The word just sat there. It didn't ask for permission. It didn't apologize. Kira didn't speak to me the rest of that Friday night. She stayed in the guest room, scrolling on her phone like she was texting a crisis line that only took drama. Saturday morning, she was back at the kitchen table, fresh cup of coffee, that stack of unsigned separation papers sitting in the middle like a pet she wanted me to feed. "Garrett," she said, calm but sharp, "I don't want to do this, but if you keep pushing me, I will file, and I will ask for spousal support." I sat across from her, unhurried, because panic was the reaction she wanted. "Kira, you still don't get it. This isn't me pushing you. This is me finally not being pushed. You do what you think you need to do." Her mouth tightened. "You think I'm bluffing? I think you're trying to scare me into going back to normal. And I think you don't realize normal is gone." That one landed. She leaned back like I'd just punched her through the chair. "So this is it?" she said, eyes glassy. "You just stop paying and hope I magically turn into someone else?" "No," I said evenly. "I'm giving you the chance to decide if you actually want to be married to me or just sponsored by me. You can choose." She stood so fast the chair legs screeched. "You're unbelievable." "I know," I said, taking a sip of coffee. "It's what people say when you finally stop doing what they expect." The weekend turned into a standoff. She floated through the house like a ghost that refused to do chores. By Monday, she'd clearly chosen her next weapon, charm. I came home to find the place spotless, candles lit, dinner on the table, and Kira dressed like a Pinterest board called Effort. "Hi," she said, voice sugar-coated. "I made your favorite." Thought we could talk. I sat. The food was good. The conversation was smooth, light, even fun, for about an hour. Then she slid the real agenda across the table with her smile. "So, if we can work this out, does that mean you'll tear up those papers?" I set my fork down. "We're not working anything out. You're just running another play. This is you trying to reset the scoreboard without playing the game." Her face stiffened. "I'm trying to fix our marriage." "Then fix it by being an equal partner. Stop trying to charm your way out of the bill." She pushed her chair back. "You're impossible. You want some perfect wife who doesn't exist." "No," I said calmly. "I want a wife who actually wants to be my wife, not just someone who performs when she needs something." Wednesday night, Brittany showed up again. This time, she didn't bother with printouts. She had the big sister energy cranked to max. "You can't just threaten divorce every time you don't get your way," Brittany said, planting herself on the couch like a judge. "I haven't filed anything," I said. "Your sister is the one putting that on the table." "She's scared," Brittany shot back. "You've turned into some cold stranger. This isn't the Garrett we know. That's because the Garrett you knew was a doormat with a wallet. This one has boundaries." Kira, who had been standing by the kitchen island with her arms crossed, jumped in. "So what? You just give up? 8 years of marriage, and you'd rather burn it down than compromise? I stood. We've been compromising. I compromise every day by accepting less than a marriage. And I'm done. Brittany looked between us like a referee who had just realized the game was over. You really mean it, she said quietly. Yes, I said. Kira thinks this is a negotiation. It's not. It's a verdict. Thursday morning, I printed the divorce papers. Not separation. Divorce. I laid them on the table where the unsigned separation papers had sat for days. Kira walked in, saw them, and went pale. What is that? That, I said, is me deciding for myself. You had your chance. You didn't want equality, you wanted control. I'm done playing, her voice cracked. You'd really throw everything away? I'm not throwing anything away, I said quietly. I'm just not volunteering to carry it all anymore. She stared at me, and for a second I thought she might finally break. Finally admit she'd been wrong, that she wanted me, not just what I provided. Instead, she straightened her shoulders. Fine. If that's what you want, I nodded. It is. That night, Eric called again. You sound different, he said. I just decided to file, I told him. Damn, Eric said after a pause. Good for you, man. She thought you were bluffing. She still does, I said. But she's about to find out I'm not. Eric whistled low. You know this is going to shake the whole friend group, right? I don't care, I said. I'm done being the cautionary tale they whisper about. I'd rather be the example they learn from. Hell yeah, he said. Pour yourself a drink. You just became the most interesting man in our group chat. Friday morning, I drove to my lawyer's office and signed the paperwork. When I got home, Kira was sitting at the table, waiting. Did you do it? She asked. Yes, I said simply. Her face went slack, like all the rehearsed arguments had fallen out of her head. You're serious. I've been serious for 2 weeks. You just didn't want to believe it. She stood up, hands clenched. You'll regret this. I grabbed a glass from the cabinet, poured water, and looked at her over the rim. I regret letting it get this far. That's all. Saturday morning, the house was quiet. Too quiet. No sound of Kira's phone alarms with cute chimes, no blow dryer humming through the wall, no perfume cloud in the hallway. Her car was gone. Most of her clothes were gone. For 8 years, I'd started every morning trying to guess what version of Kira I'd get. Sweet Kira, tired Kira, annoyed Kira. What are you doing breathing so loudly, Kira? That morning, I didn't have to guess. She wasn't here. And for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't on edge. The first couple of days were strange. I made dinner for one, ate it in peace, left the dishes overnight without guilt, watched whatever I wanted on Netflix, fell asleep on the couch. The house didn't feel empty. It felt mine. Wednesday evening, Brittany called. She's a mess, Brittany said, not even hello first. She cries constantly. Barely eats. Keeps saying you blindsided her. She wasn't blindsided, I said. She just didn't think I'd actually go through with it. You've changed, Brittany said, like she just spotted a new tattoo on me. No, I said. I just stopped pretending that being taken advantage of is normal. Thursday night, Eric came over with a six-pack and zero sympathy. To new beginnings, he said, cracking one open and handing it to me. You sound way too happy about this, I said. I am happy, he said, plopping down on the couch. You've been miserable for years. It was like watching a guy get mugged in slow motion, but being too polite to call the cops. Thanks, I said dryly. Great pep talk. Eric took a drink. Listen, man. You just taught half the married guys we know that they're allowed to have boundaries. You're going to get invited to every barbecue for the next year just so they can hear updates. Fantastic, I muttered. Exactly how I wanted to be known. Garrett, the divorce live stream. Eric grinned. Could be worse. You could still be the ATM. I laughed for the first time in weeks. By the following Monday, Kira texted. Staying with Brittany, need time to think. I stared at the screen for a moment before typing back, take all the time you need. No begging, no deals, no promises. The house stayed quiet and I stayed busy. I fixed the squeaky cabinet I'd been ignoring for months, finally cleaned the garage, got back to running in the evenings without worrying if she'd pout about me being gone too long. It was weird how fast the tension leaked out of my life. One night, I sat on the couch with a beer, feet on the coffee table, something that used to annoy Kira, and realized I didn't feel lonely. I felt calm. By the end of the week, I'd almost forgotten what the house sounded like with two people in it. Then Thursday evening, I came home from work and found Kira sitting at the kitchen table, waiting. She looked awful. Hair in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes, sweater that looked like she'd slept in it. I got a job, she said quietly. Congratulations, I said, setting down my keys. It's at a marketing agency. 32 grand to start. They said there's room to grow. She glanced up at me like waiting for me to clap. That's good, I said. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for a week. I want to try again. On what terms? I asked. Your terms, she said quickly. I'll pay half the mortgage, utilities, everything. She hesitated. I'll be a real wife, not just when I need something. I leaned against the counter. Why now, Kira? She bit her lip. Because I spent 4 days at Brittany's watching her husband treat her the way you used to treat me, like she could do no wrong, no matter how she acted. And I realized I had the same deal here. And I threw it away. I sat down across from her. You talked to a therapist? I asked. Yes, she said, twisting her hands. She told me I was testing you, seeing how much I could get away with, how little I could give while still keeping you around. Why? I asked. Because I was scared, she said. If I controlled you completely, you wouldn't leave. But I got so focused on control that I stopped being worth staying for. It was the most honest thing she'd said to me in years. But here's the thing. Honesty doesn't erase history. You start the job Monday? I asked. Yes. Good. You can start covering your share right away. She nodded. I will. And the other part? I asked. She froze. I don't know how to fix that, she admitted. I've been rejecting you so long that I don't even know how to want you again. But I want to learn. This isn't about intimacy, I said. It's about respect. About being wanted by someone who chose to marry me. She nodded again, tears filling her eyes. I know. Do you? I asked. Because for 3 years you made me feel like wanting my own wife was a flaw. She broke then, real crying, not the kind that comes with a request attached. We talked until midnight, not about logistics, not about money, not about credit cards, about us, about how we ended up here, about whether it could actually be fixed. But even after all that talking, I went to bed with one clear thought. If she can't change, if this is just another act, the divorce papers stay. The next 6 months felt like a probation period. Kira kept the job. To my surprise, she was actually good at it. She woke up earlier, dressed like she had somewhere to be, came home tired, but strangely lighter. Bills were paid, on time, and from both of our accounts. For the first time since we got married, I didn't feel like I was funding someone else's lifestyle alone. But I didn't rush to tear up the divorce papers. They stayed in my desk drawer, a quiet reminder that I still had a way out if this turned into a rerun. The intimacy thing took longer. At first it felt forced, like she was checking boxes. I stopped her one night and said, Kira, this isn't a chore chart. I want you to want me, not just pretend because rent's due. She cried, then nodded, and something shifted. Little things came back. A kiss when I walked through the door, her hand finding mine on the couch without me moving first. Laughter during dinner. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. We started counseling, her idea this time, not a bargaining chip. The therapist didn't let either of us off the hook. She called out Kira for using withholding as control. She called out me for enabling it for years by never setting a line. And weirdly enough, we started talking like two adults. Kira admitted she had treated me like a background character in her life, not a partner. I admitted I'd been so scared of conflict that I let resentment grow until it poisoned everything. One night, about 4 months in, we sat on the porch with 2 glasses of wine and no phones between us. "You know," Kira said, staring into the yard, "I almost didn't come back. I thought you'd just cave eventually." "You've been betting on that for years," I said. "I know," she said, shaking her head. "And you didn't. And that's the only reason we're still here." "Because I finally stopped playing?" I asked. "Because you finally made me realize I could lose you," she said. "And I don't want to lose you. Not the you that exists now." That was the first time I believed her. A year later, Eric and I were at a barbecue when one of our friends pulled me aside. "My wife pulled the same line," he said. "Not in the mood while asking me to cover a weekend trip. What did you do to fix it with Kira?" "I stopped accepting a one-sided marriage," I said. "Made it clear that if she wasn't in the mood to please me, I wasn't in the mood to finance her." "And that worked?" "It worked because it was fair," I said. "She either had to meet me halfway or walk away." She chose halfway. Kira overheard that later and told me quietly, "Thank you for not giving up on us." I shrugged. "I wasn't saving you. I was saving me. You just decided to come along." The divorce papers are still in that drawer, not as a threat, as a reminder. That marriage without respect isn't marriage. That peace at any price is just surrender. And that the day you start demanding respect is the day people decide whether they're willing to give it. Kira chose to give it, and for the first time in years, I chose to stay. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.